What I would like to do is offer 5 myths and or fears about target market. And because as I've worked with entrepreneurs, lots of them over many, many years, I've discovered that there is a lot of information out there about target market or ideal customer. And an awful lot of it, I find, is actually not helpful for entrepreneurs. And I suppose let me preview what I'm about to say with the idea that my philosophy about salesmanship is that what is called for is for you to identify accurately exactly who it is that you are best suited to serve. And once you accurately define who that person is, what his or her exact problems are, and what kinds of circumstances does he or she need to be in order for you to be the best solution, then there's almost no such thing as, and you can close as hard as you want in that circumstance because you're serving them. You are the best person to solve the problem that they have. However, if you haven't done that hard work, and if you are talking just some random person, well, then not only are you going to have a very painful and awkward sales conversation because it's probably going to result in them having to tell you no, it also means that if you get to the end and let's say you even haven't figured out if they're good for you or not, now you're in the position of like trying to close them because you want the sale, but you're feeling yucky because you recognize that you're putting pressure on them and they don't want it. And all of that is addressed and fixed by going back to the beginning. So that's what we're talking about with target market is going back to the very beginning of who is the person that you are best able to serve. And so that's why we have to talk about the 3 main characteristics in concert: who you are and what you're offering, in addition to who you're serving. All 3 of those have to go together. With all of that, let's get started. The first myth that I want to talk to you about is the most fundamental idea of how to even begin looking at your target market. Most of the information that you might find anywhere about how to identify your target market will coach you to think about, are they male or female? How old are they? Where do they live? What magazines they subscribe to? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All of that is demographic information. And the reason that that's useful is if you are going to do paid advertising, if you're going to buy a list, even if you're going to advertise on Facebook or on Instagram or on Twitter, those designations, those categories allow you to filter a giant group of people. So if you're doing paid advertising, it's essential to do those demographic considerations about your target market. However, if you are not doing paid advertising, they are almost useless in terms of knowing who you actually are best able to serve. So let's get back to myth number 1. The demographic information doesn't address any of that. There's no demographic field for I work with women who are afraid that their husbands are no longer having sex with them because of the wrinkles on their face. And I want to sell them my wrinkle cream in order to make them feel more confident and sexy about themselves as they go into their wedding anniversary. Right? That is really powerful to know when you're networking or when you're meeting people face to face or when you're having conversations with people. Totally useless if you're doing paid advertising. Most of you are in the stage where you are making your first sales and you're getting familiar with what you do and what problems you serve. You want to focus on the psychographic, not the demographic. You want to focus on the problem that they serve. What's going on inside their head that makes them a good customer for you, not the demographic. Myth number 2. So often we get ourselves caught up in thinking that we've got to do a ton of lead generation. We got to close a ton of sales. We've got to just volume. But for the most part, and for most of us I sell services, and many of us sell services, we're looking for single-digit sales per month. And especially if you live in a large metropolitan area, you can access those people at a networking event, right? You don't need to do paid advertising. You don't need to do social media. You don't need to be reaching people in Singapore, generally, because you only need a few people. If you're trying to make 3 sales this month, remind yourself of that. I just need 3 sales. I don't need to reach 8,000 people. I just need to find those 3. Number 3 is that when you are identifying your target market, it is equally powerful to know who isn't your target market as opposed to who is. The myth is that I have to say yes to everybody. And the truth is, it's often just as powerful to be able to say no, say no to the wrong people will help you to bring in the right people. And this is very hard for many entrepreneurs, especially female entrepreneurs, because we don't like to say no. We don't like to be exclusionary. We don't like to think that there's anybody we can't help. And if we're in a little bit of lack and scarcity and we're thinking, oh my God, I just need to make a sale this month, this week, today, I can't say no to anybody. It's a really triggering thing for me to suggest that you should be saying no as much as you're saying yes. But it's extremely powerful to be able to say, I do not, so in my case, I do this stuff that I'm doing with all of you. And in my case, it's a really powerful thing for me to know and repeat to myself that my customers are entrepreneurs, not salespeople. My customers are entrepreneurs, not salespeople. Because as soon as I say that I teach sales coaching or I teach salesmanship or I talk to you about the self-limiting beliefs that you have about salesmanship, everybody wants to refer me to sales teams. I don't work with sales teams. And it's really powerful for me to know that. In my business, what I'm clear on is that I only work with 2 or 3 clients at a time. And I currently have one who's been with me for years. So one of my slots is already permanently full. So and there's another person who's been working with me for a little bit now. So right now I kind of have one more slot available and that's it. So I could make 1 sale today, this week, this month, whatever, and then I'm done, right? And I want hundreds of people, thousands of people to watch my videos and to read my tweets and to buy my books, right? The same basic concept applies to network marketing. You've got 2 different sales. And I use that example because I've been a leader of 2 successful network marketing teams over the years. And in network marketing, you've got 2 sales. On the one hand, you're selling the product, whatever. I was a Mary Kay consultant, so we were selling lipstick and cleansing cream. And then on the other hand, you're also selling the opportunity. You're looking to get women to join the business with you. 2 different sales and 2 different approaches. And it's really important that you keep track in your mind at any given moment which sale you're talking about. That leads us directly into myth number 4, or fear number 4, which is I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs who say, I don't want to define my target market really super narrowly because I want to be able to sell to a lot of people. I don't want to say that my target market is only women in their 40s who own more than 1 cat. I could sell to people who own only 1 cat. I could sell to a 20-year-old who has a cat, right? Yes, sure, you can. But the thing is this. When you are really super specific about whose problem you can solve, now in all of your messaging, you get to sound like an expert problem solver. And even if you're describing the solution to a problem that isn't the problem that the person you're talking to has, they'll figure out in their own head that you could probably solve their problem too. Now, that was some deep shit, so I'm going to say that again. We so often are afraid that if we narrowly define our target market, that means we can't sell to anybody else, or that anybody outside of that won't buy from us. And that's the opposite of what's true. Psychologically, what people are drawn to is someone they feel confident can solve their problem. And so if you are expert at solving a specific problem, people now think, oh, she's a problem solver. And so even if the problem that I have is slightly different than the problem that you were just describing for someone else or a hypothetical other person, I'm going to think to myself, you know what? You are really darn good at fixing that. I'll bet you're probably pretty darn good at fixing what I've got going on too. And then myth number 5, and actually this isn't so much a myth or a fear, but it's kind of a tactic. And it is this, that the people that you will be best at serving, or the people who are in fact your best target market, are the people who have already bought from you. So the best thing to do to make, literally with a pen and a piece of paper, or you could do it on your computer, write down the names, the individual names of the last 3 people, 10 people, 25 people, whatever number is appropriate for you, who have bought from you. And if you're one of these people who has a couple of different customers, do 1 sheet of paper for each customer category. And literally write down the names of the people who have given you money. Don't weasel out on thinking, well, she's probably going to buy, or, oh, well, I did give it for free, but she's probably a good customer. No. It only counts if they actually bought the product that you're currently selling. Okay? And so write down those names. So you know, and even at the top of the page, write down the product that they bought and the amount that they paid for it, so that you're really, really rigorous and clean with yourself about what you're talking about. And then once you've got the names, and leave some space, right? Give yourself some lines in between the names. And then after the name, write out for yourself, what was the problem that this person thought and this is going to be a several part question here, so this gets ninja. You're going to write down 3 things. Write down the problem that they thought they had. Next, write down the problem that you, as the expert, understand they actually had. And then number 3, write down what it was about you, specifically and uniquely, that made you the perfect fit for solving their problem. So I'll say those 3 again. Number 1, what's the problem that they thought they had? So like, I'll use a medical example. Like, you go into your nutritionist's office and say, oh my God, I can't lose any weight. It must be because my metabolism is too low. You got to give me some kind of an herb to speed up my metabolism, right? That's the problem the customer thought she had when she came to see you. Then number 2, write down the problem that she actually had. What you, the expert, understand was actually going on. So in the medical example, she thinks that her problem is low metabolism. The fact of the matter is she's just eating too many calories. She's not accurately counting how many calories she's putting in her mouth. That's what her problem is. Nothing with her metabolism. She's eating 2,400 calories a day, and of course she's not losing weight. That's number 2. And then number 3, how was your problem, or your solution, best suited to solve her problem? So in this weight loss medical example, how were you as a nutritionist able to get her to hear the message that she's consuming too many calories and get her to drop them? Right? How were you able to do that in a way that Weight Watchers didn't do it, and Jenny Craig didn't do it, and some other nutritionists she saw didn't do it? How were you able to uniquely solve that problem? And from all of that, you will start to be able to answer the questions of who you are, what you offer, and who you serve.